ancient city that nobody really knows existed, and then you're also an alien that nobody thinks exists at the
Okay,
same
well,
time.
you did know that was just a set that was next door to our set.
Well, besides the point, I mean, you know, it's about all extraterrestrial and jazz. So I was thinking, that it must have been difficult to go from one real scene to a huge city out in the middle of nowhere.
I think character-wise, I think it probably would have been an easier transition for Tilt, because I think he probably would be more familiar with that type of alien world. Because for him, Earth was always alien, and the people on it. Like, if I were to go to Mexico, I would be the alien, but unless I was Mexican, right? So I would think it would have been easier, maybe, transition for Teal to actually be in that world that was not so commonplace for an Earth.
Okay, well, thank you.
Hey, cheers. But you do know that was just a set, though, right? The other set, though, right?
If you ever find it, let us come find me, because that's one of the places I want to go.
All right.
He actually thinks this is makeup right now.
Let's go over here.
Yes. What was the funnest role you ever did?
The funnest
role ever in your acting
anything.
career? Yeah.
The most ridiculous role, I don't think that I've had too many roles that were just more fun than Tilk. I mean, just because we just had so much fun on set every day. The most ridiculous role I've ever had was I played Abdoman in a series of infomercials. So I had to wear this kind of ridiculous, it was almost like an I Dream of Jeannie outfit, but with tighter pants. But it was like a crop top, and it had a cape. And sometimes I would wear it to the club.
You were the original Situation.
Yeah.
Well, I just remember one show that I saw you in, and you were a drag queen.
And I was a drag queen.
Maybe it was a dream.
Maybe that was just something that wasn't ever supposed to. Did you see that on the internet or something?
We on TMZ.
It was a TV movie.
Where I was a drag queen.
Either a drag queen or a prostitute. One of the prostitutes.
It's getting better. Was it filmed in Amsterdam?
Honey, I hate to bust your bubble, but I think that was some other brother. There's more than one of us.
All right, question over here.
How does it feel for wearing the symbol on your head for a long time, and then you're not wearing it never?
How does it feel to not wear it anymore? Well, by the end, it had got really lightweight, so I would actually forget that I was wearing it. But in the beginning, and we used this medical adhesive. Not a medical adhesive. We used a makeup adhesive. So every night when I go, and it would actually burn the imprint into my head. So, and at first I hated it, but then when Stargate started airing, and I'd be out at the clubs, and that symbol was burnt into my head, it really became quite useful.
Question over here.
My favorite episode of my very favorite show of all time is The Changeling.
Oh, thank you.
Did you always know you were going to try to write, or were you just that inspired by your character that over time it came out of you and was just that awesome?
Thank you for that. How writing came about for me was, in the beginning, Tilk said very little. And for me in the beginning, that was really cool, because it was mysterious and all that. But then it just started kind of getting boring. So I would devise, okay. So the whole thing with with, okay. Like, okay, as an example of, you know, so I would start, you know, going out more at night and da-da-da. So the whole thing with Kelno reaming came about because I couldn't stay awake during scenes. So when I first started, like, just like in scenes, I just learned to keep my head completely still and be asleep. And I forget which it might have been one of the first episodes that DeLuise directed. He's like, Chris, what are you doing? And I'm like, what do you mean what I'm doing? And he's like, what are you doing? I'm like, you're asleep. I was like, DeLuise, I'm not asleep, I'm meditating. He's like, what? And I was like, Teal'c is an alien. They're talking about all this Earth stuff. Like, Teal'c has a lot of unresolved issues back at home. Why would I be listening to this? Teal'c has a family, a wife and child that he left back on Chulak. Why would I not be thinking about that other than what's going on Earth? And then so the next episode they had actually wrote in the script that I was Kelno reaming. So a lot of times when you watch episodes, I'm just asleep. Sorry, Dash. What was your question?
Are you sleeping right now?
It was about your writing aspirations and whether they came up with inspiration for the character.
That's where I was going with it. So I went to Brad, and I wanted to be kind of more actively engaged in it. You know, I didn't want to take what I was doing for granted anymore. So I went to Brad and asked if I could, you know, start pitching story ideas and stuff like that. And he said, sure. So the first idea that was actually made into a screenplay that I pitched was The Warrior. So I wrote the story for that, and DeLuise wrote the screenplay. And then, so I went back to Brad and I said, hey, can I take a shot at writing a complete episode? But kind of not in the traditional way that we write Stargate episodes. Because basically what it is, people throw out pitches, like writers throw out pitches, they all sit in a room, spitball it, break down the acts, then break down the scenes, and so you as the writer, basically what you have to do is fill in the dialogue. But I was really interested to see if I could actually write. One of the things that I took at the University of Oregon was I was telecommunication and film major, and so I did have some experience writing and stuff like that. So he allowed me to. So I pitched. They liked the pitch. Brad allowed me to just take it away on my own and write it from alpha to omega. So I turned it in the day before we went on our summer hiatus, which was like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. I can't remember what it was. And I gave a copy to Brad, and I gave a copy to Martin Wood, who would be directing. So the entire 3 weeks or whatever it was, I was on pins and needles waiting to hear something. Nothing. So I had convinced myself that they hated it, that no one would, they might actually fire me, that no one wanted. So I was just terrible angst the whole time. The day before we go back to work, Martin and Brad called and said that they loved it, and pretty much we were just going to shoot it kind of as written. And and then it kind of just went from there. So I'm forever thankful to Brad Wright for giving me that first opportunity to write.
Thank you. And can't wait for Rage of Angels. Please tell us all about it.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Judge. My big question is, one of the great things I think the writers did with SG-1 is bring
Chevron 7 encoded. I just always wanted to say that. So I'm sorry.
Six are locked now. Was that they break down the fourth wall and make the MacGyver jokes, or the slight jabs at Michael Shanks for leaving the show and then come back crawling back to it. My big question was, other than He's a Canucks fan. I can do it all I want to him.
You're kind of a meanie.
As you probably get tweeting me back the other day. What was I saying? The question is...
Here, wait, hold on. I can let you borrow some of my Adderall.
Did they ever sneak anything in for you personally? What I was thinking maybe was like when Teal'c would show up with some facial hair, they would, like O'Neill would kind of make the offhand comment of what's with the facial hair, and then everyone would go, we don't talk about that. Like, was that something that you would grow, then they would have to write it in for half a show, or what did they use for your personal life in the actual show?
Well, it really all stemmed from my ongoing battle to regrow my hair. So every year, all the actors would go into Brad Wright's room and we talk about where we thought the character would go, where he thought it would go, if there was anything that we'd like to do or anything we'd like to experiment with, blah, blah, blah. So that's what everyone else talked about it. The only thing I ever talked about every year at the beginning of the year was, so can I have hair this year? And he would say, no. So, but every year I would come back with a different hairstyle, just to see if anything would fly. So one year I came back with dreads, one year I came with cornrows, one year I came back with a blonde afro. So, and I think, boy, was that ridiculous. Because he let me keep the blonde soul patch. How stupid that was. I didn't, the reason I cut it was because the first episode of that year aired. And I was like, they did this on purpose. They let me look like an idiot. And then, so that's why it just abruptly disappeared that season, was because I just actually saw what it looked like. So yeah, it was, they always stuff like that in, or even, the whole thing with when O'Neill and Teal'c changed bodies, and the whole thing with me about to shave the head. That was kind of all inside jokes for us. So yeah, we other people had a good laugh with me and my issues with being bald the whole time.
Thank you.
Cheers.
So you guys did a lot of filming up north. Where was your...
Did you just start your sentence with so? Like we've been talking the whole time. So, and like I was saying, you do realize like you just came up and started, right?
I'm nervous.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sure that helped.
Where was your favorite place to film?
The show, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I really enjoyed filming on the lot because we had like other people on the lot, and like we had at one point we had us, Atlantis, I think Dead Like Me was there, I think like Shooter was there. So I would just take like the studio bikes around and just go torment other sets. And I'm not kidding, because at times I would get banned from our own set because I would just go and just start causing trouble. So literally, if I wasn't in a scene, they would not let me go to the Stargate set. So I just went to other people's sets.
One more question for you. What do you play in football?
What? I'm sorry?
What position did you play?
Strong safety. Nice. Cheers.
Hi, so I'm also...
See? Did you hear that? Did you hear what she started with?
Hello.
Hi. So like I was saying.
I'm also a huge SG-1 fan, and there's that episode where Teal'c is like passing the symbiote back and forth between him and Braytac, and he's dreaming that he's a fireman. Have you ever had like a
Doesn't that sound almost like porn? And there's this thing where you and Braytac are passing the symbiote, you're dreaming that you're a fireman. So you were saying?
just summing up the episode a little. Have you ever had a really weird dream about like about working on the show or about your character?
Strike.